Hi guys, welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're just going to go over the end of year 2024 developer update, and I'm going to give some of my thoughts about what was said in the article, because for me, just to get out of the way, I feel like Bungie they've not really given us any confidence that they're listening to us or they're focusing on the right things, but I'll let you know my thoughts at the end of the video. So here we go. My name is Robbie Stevens and I'm the Assistant Game Director of Destiny 2. Over the past few months we've been sharing details about the future of Destiny 2 and developer deep dives and live streams. The Destiny 2 team is hard at work, paving the way for Codename Frontiers. The new destination in Codename Apollo is content complete, which means we're focusing on polishing the non-linear campaign, Metroidvania gameplay experience, developing the finer details of the world and fleshing out the numerous quests that you'll discover during the journey through New Frontiers. They keep throwing this Metroidvania gameplay line out and non-linear campaign line out, but I don't really know if they know what a Metroidvania is. Like, from what we've had in the past, any kind of Metroidvania-like aspects hasn't really felt like a Metroidvania. Like, I don't know if you remember the Forsaken campaign, that kind of gave you the cadence to go out and seek the barns that you wanted to in an order that you wanted to. But for my experience, these campaigns I've always felt are a bit mid, because there's never been like a set goal. There's never been like a continuous story narrative. It's you start the campaign, you get your kind of overall objective of the campaign, and then you're given few objectives to carry out, and then once you've done all the few objectives, they've all got their own small stories, etc. That's fine. And then when you've done all that, then you get to like the story point that was kind of hinted at the start of the campaign. You need to go and finish it. This way of storytelling, I feel, is very disjointed, and I personally don't enjoy it myself. I prefer a story start to finish. You know, themes happen within the story, points of interest happen within the story, turns, new lore drops, things like that. The best campaigns they've done, I would say, is probably Witch Queen and Final Shape. I really enjoyed Final Shape as well. But they weren't the Metroidvania, they were more linear, do you know what I mean? You had your goals, it set up properly, and it carried through with the payoff at the end. But Metroidvania, it doesn't build me with confidence that the gameplay that they're going to give is going to be good. And don't get me wrong, if it comes out and the Metroidvania absolutely slaps, then I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong. But just now, with the content that we've been given since the Final Shape ended over the past two, in quotation mark, episodes to now, this isn't building me with confidence. Anyway, let's continue. The core game portal activities, modifiers and next generation gear that will be Destiny's new backbone are coming online. We're playtesting every week and to have planned multiple summits in the coming months with members of the Destiny community to provide invaluable feedback and help us hone our executions. Additionally, we're hiring a handful of gameplay specialist positions. Our specialists sourced from the community will be in the trenches with the dev team, playtesting the new core game progression and gameplay systems, as well as Codename Apollo's campaign and post-game. These specialists provide us with a kind of perspective you can only get from dedicated players. We'll be going dark in Codename Frontiers communications for a little while. The team needs time to playtest, collect feedback and cook before we emerge again with more details. Don't get me wrong, this sounds promising, but I just hope they do it in the right way. There's a lot of different opinions and a lot of different types of players in the Destiny 2 community that I think Bungie will need to keep in mind when they fill out these positions and send out invitations to these summits. From, you know, the dedicated PvP players to even the Gambit players to the players who just like to go into strikes and really just focus on the main activities in the game, to hardcore endgame raiders, speedrunners, solo dungeon enthusiasts. They really need to make sure that all of these players are represented during these, community interactions in these specialist positions if they want to set themselves up right. Because there's too many times that Bungie make a decision that one half of the party is really happy, like the higher end of the community is really happy, but the more casual side of people, which is the bread and butter kind of player base, do you know what I mean? They have a problem with it. For example, this episode, tonics, they get rid of crafting and put it back onto RNG. Now for me, I like RNG, I like grinding out an activity to get a specific role, but that's not everyone's taste. I know that crafting is a big help for people who maybe can't play as much as other people, so they really need to make sure that they're taking a wide array of people from the community when holding these summits or looking at these positions. Breaking bones. Destiny has a long history of reinventing itself in response to community feedback and the expectations of players. Our North Star, however, remains unchanged. We strive to build worlds that inspire friendship and to create amazing gaming experiences that leave an indelible mark in people's lives. We started breaking bones and trying new things with episodes. Some of those changes have been well received by the community, like the Vespers host dungeon race. The team found just the right mix of challenge and length to elevate the dungeon to the bar set by contest raids. I can't wait to watch the next race when Heresy launches in February. Other changes have had a rocky start. Weapon crafting removed the joy of earning a random weapon, that feeling that any drop could matter, so we introduced enhanceable weapons. The Revenant tonics were meant to provide loot, agency in lieu of crafting and give you a fresh way to chase gear, but we know we missed the mark with the tonics timers and not guaranteeing a weapon from an active tonic. So in the process of developing changes to tonics lasting longer and give better payouts on top of the series of bug fixes planned for December 17th. Also, we see how these changes are putting pressure on your vault, so we are in the early stages of planning long-term changes to relieve vault pressure that will start manifest later in the year of Codename Frontiers. In response to the desirability of seasonal weapons, in the short term for Heresy we've developed a new tier of seasonal weapon dubbed the Heretical Arsenal. More details on these weapons will approach Heresy, but rest assured that it will be clear when they hit your inventory that are worth inspecting. These changes are stepping stones that help us elevate our long-term plans to create a deeper weapon chase in Codename Frontiers. Episodes introduced a new content cadence with acts. While there are new activities, loot and quests rolling out a consistent cadence, these changes will create lulls in our gameplay calendar at the end of an episode. So for the final weeks of Revan, there will be a special pursuit similar to Revan's Wishes, where you can complete quests to choose from a new list of desirable rewards. Additionally, we've been evaluating feedback from Revenant's content rollout, and we've made changes to Heresy that strike a better balance between everything dropping in day one of an act versus meaningful reasons to return throughout the episode. We're taking an approach where the vast majority of the activities content will be available in the first day of the act, and subsequent weeks will add or evolve the content based on the story. Also, we're adjusting the actual out schedule so there are less downtime in the gameplay calendar later in the episode. Heresy will be our last season in the episode format. The team have taken some big swings to create new activities that evolve throughout the episode and create big secrets to uncover the Dreadnought. I mean, this all sounds good to me, but I think Bungie are missing the underlying issue of, why the burnout in the community has happened. We were promised with episodes that it would be a complete shake-up from seasons, but it's not. There's not been any form of evolution at all. It's just been seasons but longer, seasons but broken up. And as they even said, there's only so many times you can reinvent the wheel. They need to, and it sounds like need to get completely rid of this model of go speak to a vendor, go and do a thing, come back, speak to the vendor, go and do the other thing. The only thing they did this season was cut out the flying to the helm and then coming back and then flying to the helm. That's the only thing they cut out. They didn't cut out, or they didn't reinvent the actual overall formation of it. They just gave you it all in one go, and it only took 2 hours, which really shows the lack of content that they have for these things. Because without all the padding of going to the helm and speaking to a vendor, getting a bit of blurb, and then going doing a public event or a new seasonal activity, or going to a random destination to look at a random thing, then there's not much to this game at the minute in terms of progressional seasonal / episodic content. Don't get me wrong, the things that they added that are not tied to the episode, so for example, the exotic mission in the last act, or the last episode, was amazing, but they killed that by making you run it about 5 times. Me especially, I found this painful because towards the end of the episode, I was burnt out, so I came back at the end of episode, well, the end of Act 3, and I ended up having to do the exotic mission about 5 times in a row, and it completely burnt me out. It was rubbish. I can only imagine what it would have been like going from week to week saying, welcome back, do the exotic mission again. You do it for the week, then next reset, welcome back, do it again. It just creates frustration and lack of vision, in my opinion. I'm really hoping with the next act, they don't do it again for the new exotic mission. But from what I've seen and read in the community, I think that's the route they're going to go down. I have no confidence that, they're going to make the last act of this episode completely centred around the exotic mission. And it's obviously because the staff layoffs, it's obviously because what's been going on at Bungie. But from a player perspective, it just seems lazy. And obviously, I know it's not lazy from a dev perspective, but I'm not a dev, I'm a player. Vesper's host, amazing. The dungeon raid race, whatever you want to call it, amazing, love that. But again, dungeons have its own problems. There's not a solid way to attune a specific drop, so you're stuck farming an encounter instead of doing the full thing start to finish because it's more optimal. The Destiny player base can't help themselves but be optimal in everything that they do. So if you give an avenue to make a grind more optimal, Destiny players are going to pursue it, and that's what we've seen with the dungeon, and that's what we've seen with a lot of dungeons, I would say, in the past few years, is instead of running the full dungeon back to back, then they just, it's more beneficial for you to run, for example, Vesper's host, it's more beneficial for you to run a specific encounter over and over and over again, get the checkpoint on one character, swap to another character, do it, go back to your first character, etc, etc. It's much more optimised to do it that way than to run it, start to finish. I think they need to introduce something that makes it worthwhile, start to finish. Obviously you get one bonus drop from completing a dungeon start to finish, but they really need to make it appealing to what it has been. Like, even thrown in more materials, thrown in a chance at an artifice armour, thrown in a chance at maybe like a double perk drop from completing the dungeon start to finish. They need to give us something more so that we don't, over optimise dungeon runs. Nightfalls as well. Nightfalls have been good this season. I think that there was a lot of pushback from the community at the start because of all these modifiers, but they weren't as bad as they first seemed. Once we were actually in Nightfalls and managed to kind of create a plan, a gameplay route, builds and things like that, then the Nightfalls haven't been too bad. I think, it's been a welcome shake-up because we've been so over power crept over the past couple of years. The Nightfalls were just an absolute joke. But now, because they've given us Banes and these new modifiers, they do create pause and say, well, hold on, if this is a modifier this week, I need to go in with this build. But again, on the counterpoint of this, that can be argued for a lock and key type argument where we shouldn't have to be cornered into a certain build to do well in a certain type of Nightfall, but that's a conversation for another day. Widening the focus. As Revenant approaches its final act, where you'll dive into a Dracula's castle-inspired fortress, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on some of the feedback we've received around the echoes in Revenant's story, as well as a hunger for purpose and meaning in a post-witness world. Our first 2 episodes had a tight focus, establishing Maya Sundaresh and her Echo of Command as a force to be reckoned with. Vikral re-emerged with the power to recreate an undead army from one last showdown with the Guardian and his dad. We set out to deliver a narrative promises set up in the Light and Darkness saga that we couldn't tie off in the final shape. The Kela Kells, the Hive siblings showcasing the effect killing the Witness had in the world, and more. By prioritising satisfying conclusions, we want to clear a path for a bold new storylines in the saga to come. In Heresy, we're widening the focus of the story to the Hive Pantheon and an ancient eldritch forces that shaped the universe. The events of Heresy closed the door in the Light as Darkness saga and act as a prologue to Codename Apollo, where the Guardian's purpose in the next saga starts to focus. New Frontiers. On a personal note, this past November marked my 9th year at Bungie. I've seen Bungie and Destiny go through many changes over the last decade. What remains constant is the player community and Destiny's team commitment to dedication of a one-of-a-kind space opera and our drive to take Destiny places we could only have imagined a decade ago. It's appropriate that during Destiny's 10th anniversary, we reshape the game so that we can continue to the enduring legacy of this universe that millions of people call home. We're eternally grateful to you, our Guardians, for your passion and dedication to Destiny that enables us to chart a course to new frontiers. For me, one of the main issues of the episode is it seems like a filler episode. They're trying to set up and dismiss a big bad in the space of 3-4 months, and it's not been working. The Echoes episode, Maya Sundaresh, I just felt it fell flat. Spent so much time building her up to be this new big bad, and then what happened at the end of the episode? She floated away in a river. We never even got to fight her. So disappointing. This episode as well, with Fickrel. There's some cool bits that have happened, but like Skolas happening, coming out of nowhere. To be fair, I think we all knew he was going to make a reappearance. But again, it just seems like if you're an anime fan, it just seems like a filler episode, like the classic episode of Dragon Ball Z where Goku and Piccolo go and get their driving license. These are what these episodes feel like. I feel like I'm going to get a driving license. I'm not doing anything in particular that is going to have a long-lasting effect. Obviously, with Echoes, they left it that, Maya Sundaresh is going to reappear in the future. And if she does, I hope she's actually going to bring some heat to us instead of, taking over Saint 14 and getting her and questioning his place in the universe. I think at that point we were all burnt out with Saint and Osiris, especially since Osiris has been part of, a major DLC in terms of Nightfall. But for me, the story beats, they're just not hitting. And I'm really worried about Heresy because the Hive Pantheon and the Hive story is one of, if not the strongest storyline that Destiny have got, and if they're going to ill-treat it the way that they've ill-treated the past two storylines with Maya Sundaresh and Fickrel, there's going to be a massive outcry about it because they need to do the Hive Pantheon justice. And they said Eldritch Gods, so that makes me think that they're going to touch on the Winnower, and I'm really scared that they don't do it justice. The Winnower has been an outstanding question in Destiny for years, ever since Garden of Salvation raid came out. If they don't do it justice, then I think Dife will have a heart attack, if I'm honest with you. But they really need to hit the note right with Heresy. If they're going to wrap it up, they need to do it properly. If they're not going to wrap it up, then don't leave us hanging like they did with episodes where she, the main bad dissolves in a river, and then that's it. Everyone's like, okay, that was it, hunky-dory. My final thoughts on this developer update is, it seems very head in the sand by Bungie. They've not really touched on anything that, the community's been crying out about for the past 6 weeks. The amount of bugs we've had this episode is ridiculous. Perkgate, the perk weighting scandal, the tonic's not working, the general stability of the game has been atrocious this episode. This is probably the worst state the game's been in a technical aspect for a long while. It doesn't seem that anything works properly. The amount of times I get told that I've unlocked a new subclass and I'm playing the game just now is laughable. I think I've unlocked Arc as a new subclass about 200 times since I started playing episode Revenant. They really haven't given us a proper, defining, comfortable answer to say, yep, I'm happy with the direction the game's going, I'm happy to be a Destiny fan moving into the future. It's just everything is still left unanswered, a big question mark about the future of Destiny. With the episodes being as flat as they are, I can't see, unless they really pull it out the bag with Heresy, which I hope they do, but unless they really pull it out the bag with Heresy, the community sentiment is going to hit an all-time low. And how many times have we been in this position with Destiny, with Bungie? How many times has the game just felt so low, at a low point? It seems to be that we're hitting new records of low concurrent players every new content release. We seem to be hitting, yep, Destiny's lowest players numbers in years, and then 2 weeks later Destiny's players numbers have hit even lower. Me myself, I'm not playing that actively just now. I've been looking at different games. I've been playing OG Fortnite, been playing Fallout 76, I've been playing Marvel Rivals. With all these new games, it's really hard to keep us intrigued with Destiny when we're just running the same treadmill with a carrot at the end of the stick tied to our head. What's your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments below if I just rambled a bunch of nonsense for 20 minutes, or do you agree with anything that I said? Let me know, let's have a discussion in the comments. Thanks for your time as always, really appreciate you taking time to check out my video, and I'll see you soon for more Destiny 2 content. All the best, cheers.